And we'll now move to question time. Senator Cash.
Thank you. And my question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Veterans who met with the Minister for Veterans Affairs, Matt Keogh, yesterday say the meeting confirmed their lack of trust and confidence in him. Former RAF pilot and GP, Dr Tim Nelson, says the meeting, and I quote, confirmed for us that lack of trust, and veterans who attended have described the Minister's conduct as dismissive and disrespectful. Donna Manton, a Defence veteran and prominent advocate and a long-time Labor supporter, says she is, and I quote, heartsick to be calling out Minister Keogh and the Albanese government for, and I quote, not caring for veterans. Given veterans themselves are saying that they have lost trust and respect for Minister Keogh, does the Prime Minister still have confidence in him?
Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. The short answer is yes. I would go on to make a few points, if I may, given what the Leader of the Opposition in the Senate has said. The first point I would make is that, as I answered yesterday, those who serve our country should be treated with respect, and governments of all persuasions should ensure veterans are properly cared for. I think that is something we all agree on. If you have the courage to step forward and serve your country, then your country should ensure you are properly supported after that service. The second point I would make is that Minister Keogh has, I understand yesterday, acknowledged that he, I quote, got it wrong in not agreeing to meet with them last week when the initial request came in. So he has made his position on that clear. In relation to the services, I again reiterate what I said yesterday, and I understand that the concern that has been expressed is the $5,000 threshold. As I said yesterday, the advice I have is that veterans will continue to have access to allied health services above that threshold where there is a clinical need. So that is what the government's position is, and of course it is in the context of the government ensuring that additional investment has been put into the Department of Veterans Affairs to try and improve the rate at which claims are assessed and determined because of the delay that the backlog had previously imposed or caused, which goes back to my very first point. We do believe, and I think that is a shared view, that veterans should be treated with respect.
Has expired. Senator Cash, first supplementary.
Minister Keogh was wrong, but sadly for our veterans, this was not one bad meeting. Minister Keogh's retrospective medals changes were condemned by veterans before he was forced to retreat. Then he withdrew long-standing travel support for the parents of VC recipient Cameron Baird VC-MG before public outrage forced your government to back down. And now veterans say they have lost trust and confidence in him. How many times does Minister Keogh have to fail veterans before the Prime Minister finally accepts they deserve
Cash,
someone
the time
better?
For asking has expired. Minister.
Thank you, President, and thank you to Senator Cash. I would again make the same points I made on the previous occasion. That first, you are correct, Senator Cash. Veterans are entitled to be treated with care and respect. That is why the government has ensured that additional funds were available to the Department of Veterans Affairs because when we came to government there was a backlog of around 42,000 veteran compensation claims. That caused delays in people being able to access any care. Now, we acknowledge that there has been concern raised about the $5,000 cap. I'd make the point, or the threshold, again, to say if there is a clinical need, that the access to allied health services above that threshold.
The time has expired. Senator Cash, second supplementary.
Minister, again, you're not listening to the veterans. This is now a pattern of disrespect by the minister who is meant to be their champion. The medicals debacle, the treatment of the Baird family, the $5,000 allied health threshold, refusing to initially meet with the veterans who came to parliament to plead with your government. And now those veterans say they have lost confidence in their minister. If they've lost confidence in the minister, why hasn't the Prime Minister lost confidence in him?
Thank you, Senator Cash. Minister Wong, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Well, I think Minister Keogh did front the House of Representatives yesterday and make clear his acknowledgement about what he got wrong, and he said, "I acknowledge I got it wrong in not agreeing to meet with them last week when that initial request came in. I own that. I met with them and I heard them last night." He then went on to talk through the meeting and said, I take all of that feedback on board. The government is committed to ensuring that our veterans are treated with care and respect and continue to receive the support that they not only deserve but are entitled to as men and women who have served our country.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Dowling.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Assistant Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Australians spend their working lives building up their super to support themselves in retirement. Today, the Assistant Treasurer has announced another package of reforms to strengthen super. These reforms protect people's retirement savings from misconduct in the financial system. What will these reforms do, and how has the Albanese Labor government acted to protect Australians' retirement savings?
Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Dowling for the question, and it's an important question about how Labor continues to strengthen the superannuation and financial systems. As senators will know, the collapse of the Shield and First Guardian master funds exposed risks and vulnerabilities in parts of our financial system. Around 12,000 people were affected and around $1 billion in retirement savings impacted. The Assistant Treasurer has spoken at the National Press Club today, where he's outlined another range of reforms, including banning unlicensed real-time communications around superannuation, tightening anti-hawking laws and strengthening penalties, targeting the data harvesting and broking practices that sit at the front of these business models. It's also about accountability and compensation. So if a trustee puts a product in front of members, that trustee should stand behind it. ASIC will be able to direct trustees to begin remediation where there are credible concerns that they have failed their obligations, and APRA will have the powers to ensure trustees offering higher risk products can meet those responsibilities. We are also progressing financial advice reforms, including a new class of advisor for super funds and life insurers and support for scaled advice. We're strengthening consumer protections to ensure that there is greater access to advice, but it will not come at the expense of member safety. Now, this is from a government that or a party that built the superannuation system, and a government that will always work to protect it, to safeguard it for future generations. It's a significant national asset, but we were always needing to look at ways to strengthen and protect it in members' and workers' interests.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Dowling, second supplementary.
Consumer protection is one part of the Albanese Labor government's agenda to strengthen super. What other changes has the government made to strengthen superannuation, and what will they mean for the balances Australians retire with?
Thank you, Senator Dowling. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Dowling for that question as well. And as we have been talking about this week in the chamber, we have talked about the reforms that Labor has done for superannuation, including, importantly, ensuring that the superannuation guarantee rose to 12% after those opposite had delayed it and paused it, paying super on government-funded paid parental leave, improving superannuation and how it works for women, again, when no government before had been prepared to do that. In terms of the low-income super tax offset, making sure that low-income workers predominantly women and young people, benefit from the increase to the low-income super tax offset, and also legislating payday super, meaning that your super sits in your own super account where it's working for you, as it should be. And these have been significant and important reforms, and Labor will always protect superannuation.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Dowling, second supplementary.
The Albanese Labor government has lifted the superannuation guarantee to 12% and has backed wage increases for millions of workers because we know that strong wages have benefits for super balances. Why is it important to support workers' wages and to protect superannuation for working Australians?
Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Dowling for that very good question as well. Well, new data released by the ABS today show that real wages grew in the June quarter, and annual nominal wages have now grown above 3% for all of the 4 years under this government. Now, I hear those opposite laughing. I hear them laughing. Under Labor, we have had 16 consecutive quarters or 4 years of wages growing above 3%. There was not one quarter during 35 long quarters of the previous government where wages grew above 3%. Not one. 35 quarters and not one quarter above 3%. What we have on this side is 16 consecutive quarters or 4 years where wages have grown above 3%.
Thank you, Minister. Order. Senator Colbeck, perhaps you didn't hear me, but I called order at least 5 times. When the minister sat down at the end of her question, you still continued your interjections. That is disorderly. Senator Mackenzie.
My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Yesterday, Minister Keogh admitted, "I got it wrong," when he initially refused to meet veterans who'd come to Parliament House concerned about Labor's $5,000 allied health limit. But this is becoming a habit. He got it wrong when Labor tried to impose a 20-year limit on retrospective defence honours and was forced to withdraw that legislation after veterans revolted. He got it wrong when his government stripped funding from Invictus Australia, only to restore it after another backlash. And he got it wrong when he withdrew long-standing travel support from Doug and Kay Baird, the parents of Corporal Cameron Baird, VCMG, before reversing that decision as well. How many times does Matt Keogh have to admit he got it wrong or be forced into an embarrassing backflip before the Prime Minister loses confidence in this Minister for Veterans Affairs?
Senator Mackenzie, I remind you to refer to people in the other place by their correct titles. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. I thank the Senator for the question. If you would indulge me, I do want to take this opportunity on the second question to acknowledge our friends from Japan and Tonga who have joined us for this question time. And I'm trying to be very polite because you are here. Senator, I think that really is in the same question that was asked by different words, but the same propositions that were put to me by the Leader of the Opposition in the Senate. And I understand the political point that is being made, but we don't agree with it. What I'd say to you is, yes, the Prime Minister does have confidence in the Minister. I would say to you that the Minister has acknowledged what he has done wrong. And I would say also the Minister has been very diligent in ensuring that the recommendations of the Royal Commission have been acted upon, and are being acted upon. And I can say,
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Mackenzie.
Just on a point of order on direct relevance, Madam President, I asked the Minister about the pattern of behaviour from this Minister.
Senator Mackenzie, I'm speaking. I remind you that I've noted the question. The Minister is being relevant, and I'll continue to listen carefully. Thank you. Thank you, Minister Wong.
What we are concerned about is ensuring that our veterans are treated with the care and respect they deserve. and that appropriate support is provided, which is why the government has made substantial investments in the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's why the government has been consulting on the implementation of the recommendations of the Royal Commission, and it is why the government will continue to work with veterans to ensure that, in particular, the responses to the Royal Commission are implemented. To date, I'm advised the government has invested over $2 billion in funding to support initiatives in response to the Royal Commission. This is one of the most significant investments in veterans' wellbeing in Australian history, and it has occurred under this government, this minister, and importantly the Prime Minister, because we do believe that veterans should be respected and supported.
Senator Mackenzie, first supplementary.
Minister, again, look at the pattern. Medals, backflip. Invictus, backflip. The Baird family, backflip. Meeting veterans, I got it wrong. And now veterans are again pleading with the government to reconsider its $5,000 allied health threshold. How many more times do veterans have to force Minister Keogh to do his job before the Prime Minister finds someone who'll do it properly in the first place?
Thank you, Senator Mackenzie. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Well, at the conclusion of your question, Senator, you raised the $5,000 threshold, and I appreciate you may not have paid much attention to my answer previously. But I again would say that the veterans and criticism is people can criticise, but could we at least have facts? Veterans will continue to have access.
Order.
Well, Order. I would appreciate it if Senator McGrath would stop shouting at me across the table. Senator McGrath should stop shouting at me across the table.
Please resume your seat. Senator McGrath, you were completely disrespectful, particularly to me, as I attempted to call order. You are not in a debate with me. Senator Mackenzie, Senator McGrath, come to order. Senator McGrath, I've asked you to come to order. You can either come to order and be quiet, or you can leave the chamber. Minister Wong, please continue.
Thank you. What I was saying is that it is misleading to fail to recognise what I have now told the chamber on multiple occasions, which is the advice I have, is that veterans will continue to have access to allied health services above the $5,000 threshold where there is a clinical need. I'm saying what you said was wrong, Senator.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Mackenzie, second supplementary.
Minister, these aren't isolated mistakes. Again and again, veterans raise the alarm and Minister Keogh refuses to listen. Public pressure builds and then your government retreats. At what point does the Prime Minister accept that the problem is no longer the individual decision? The problem is Minister Keogh's judgment as the Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, Senator Mackenzie. Minister Wong.
Well, I again would say that we believe, the Albanese government believes, that veterans should be treated with respect and should be provided with support.
Order. Senator Mackenzie, which part of order does not apply to you? Minister Wong, please continue.
I will start again. We believe those who serve our country should be...
Order. Minister Wong, please continue.
I will start again. The Albanese Labor government believes veterans should be treated with respect. Veterans should be supported and cared for. We believe that those who serve our country should be treated with respect and care. And this is driven, for example, if I may...
I have called order about 2 or 3 times and been completely ignored. That is disrespectful to me as the President of the Senate. I've asked you to come to order or leave the chamber. Minister Wong.
This is why we dealt with the chronic underfunding and under-resourcing of the Department of Veterans Affairs that occurred under you, where 42,000 veteran compensation claims were not dealt with. So those who elect you now ought to remember what you delivered in government.
Senator Barbara Pocock.
Question is for the Minister representing the Minister for Housing, Senator Ayres. This morning, at the ACTU's launch of its housing crisis plan, I heard from Lou, a nurse of 52 years, now 69, who walked away from her violent marriage with nothing, stalked as she slept on couches, in cars and caravans. She's had to move further and further away from her family in Sydney, trying to find secure housing. She now pays rent that is worth more than half the pension and rent assistance combined. Rents are rising so much faster than Lou's wage. This morning she said, "I'm unable to see a future. I feel broken and without hope." This is a highly skilled, essential union worker who serves us every day. Your government has taken no action on the rental crisis by, for example, freezing or capping rents. What do you say to Lou, whose next rent increase may well put her back in her car?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Ayres.
Thank you, President, and thanks to Senator Pocock for that question. When this is a government that has a bigger agenda in housing than any previous government, and this is a government that is focused on the task of not just building and supporting the construction of homes in the private economy, but delivering 55,000 social and affordable rental homes. 100,000 homes referred for first home buyers, access to cheaper deposits for the workers that you point to. And I do wonder, if you're so concerned about the position of people like the worker that you refer to, where were you? Where were you?
Minister Ayres, direct your answers to me, please.
Where was she when it came to the Housing Affordability Future Fund legislation coming to this Parliament? Now, it's the truth of that, and the answer to that, is the Greens political party was with One Nation and the Nationals and the poor old Liberals holding up progress once again.
Senator Shoebridge.
It is one thing for Senator Shoebridge to use the hyperbolic, bloviating rhetoric that he does.
Please resume your seat. Order. Senator McKim, which part of order doesn't apply to you? Order. Order across the chamber. Minister Ayres.
I'm always happy to be corrected on my grammar by the Liberals, that's for sure. But it's one thing to criticise, it's another thing to just use wild rhetoric and get so wound up in your own ideology and your own partisan self-interest that you find yourselves blocking the building of homes with One Nation and the Nationals and the Liberals. Like, you have truly lost your way as what passed for a suburban political force.
Thank you, Minister Ayres. The time for answering has expired. Senator Pocock, resume your seat. I'm waiting for silence in the chamber. Senator Shoebridge, again, asking for silence somehow passes you by, does it? Come to order. Senator Pocock, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. I think, Minister, they are lines that will be of no comfort whatsoever to Lou and the one-third of Australians who are out there today listening to the real estate gals calling for increases in rents up to 30%. Rents are up 23% in the last 5 years, when real wages under your government, despite figures we heard earlier, fell by 5% in real terms under your government. Renters don't have a buffer. They are the buffer for landlords and investors.
Senator Pocock, the time has expired. Senator Pocock, the time has expired. Minister Ayres. Order.
Well, I mean, you could look forward to plenty more. And I would just say that what renters can look forward to from the Greens political party is words and slogans and posts on social media, sometimes associating themselves with the achievements of this government, saying we did it, but mostly hyperbolic partisan criticism that has no foundation in reality. What they can look forward to from this government is effort and reform, tax reform too, practical assistance and more homes. I hear the interjection. I agree with you. More homes, Senator Colbeck. They can look forward to more homes, more supply, more action from a government that is committed to building more homes, to building them more cheaply and providing more young Australians in particular access to the housing market.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, second supplementary.
Minister, we know rent caps work. Look at the ACT. Rent caps there have kept rents down. Minister, why won't your government work with the states to do anything to help renters facing unlimited rent increases when we have a living, breathing success story in the ACT? Why do you refuse to work with the states and to help renters, and instead you back in rich landlords' unlimited rent increases, which are throwing hard-working union members like Lou into despair?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. I'm waiting for silence. I'm waiting for silence. Minister Ayres.
Well, what we do is not use people as props. What we do is support the construction of new housing. And the evidence in relation to rent caps is very strong. But what it does is hold back construction of new homes. That it's not an effective measure. It's an effective slogan, but not an effective measure in policy terms in delivering real homes for people. And that is the activity that this government has set about doing. With the largest $47 billion in measures for home construction, from in the private market through to social and affordable housing. Now, I know that doesn't suit the Greens political party's hyperventilating rhetoric.
Please resume your seat. Senator Wong.
I just wonder if it would be possible for Senator Shoebridge to at least pause in his interjection, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Wong. You would be order. 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 Minister Wong, order. Senator Shoebridge and Senator Orman-Payne. Order. Order. Senator Wong, come to order. Senator Ayres, did you wish to continue?
I mean, well, one does wonder how he continues to do it. He breathes through his ears, Senator Shoebridge.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator O'Neill.
Thank you very much, President. And
I'm sorry, Senator O'Neill. Order. I had called Senator O'Neill. She had begun her question and the disrespect continued in the chamber. Senator O'Neill.
Thank you very much, President. My question is to the Minister for Industry and Innovation, Senator Ayres. The Albanese Labor government is delivering the largest pro-manufacturing package in Australian history, backing investment in new energy, critical minerals and advanced manufacturing to drive long-term growth. Can the minister explain how the government is securing well-paid jobs in our outer suburbs and regions to create a stronger, safer and more resilient future made in Australia?
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Minister Ayres.
Well, thank you, Senator O'Neill, for that question. As somebody who's been a proud supporter in regional New South Wales and regional Australia of the government's Future Made in Australia approach, I do welcome that question. It is unambiguously about making Australia stronger, making our industrial regions and our outer suburbs, where factories are inevitably built, stronger and fairer, rebuilding our industrial base, facility by facility. This isn't, of course, about making every single thing within Australia, not a return to protectionism, but about making our economy more complex, more productive, with good jobs, and making sure that we're more resilient in the future. We have secured, through our interventions thus far, more than 35,000 jobs in regional economies like Mount Isa, Port Pirie, in Hobart, Whyalla, Gladstone and the Hunter Valley. Smelting capacity in lead and zinc and copper, aluminium and steel, and in critical minerals like gallium and antimony. There are 7,500 more manufacturing businesses in Australia than there were before this government took office. Over $1.65 billion worth of investments through the National Reconstruction Fund. This is about hard work with Australian industry to make our economy stronger and to make our nation stronger as well. More resilient in potentially tougher times ahead, with the benefits of these investments flowing through to blue-collar jobs and engineering and trades jobs in regions like the Hunter Valley, in our outer suburbs, and in particular for young Australians.
The time for answering has expired. Senator O'Neill, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Last week, the Albanese Labor government announced that it will invest $2.5 billion with the New South Wales government to secure the future of Tomago aluminium in the Hunter, prioritising investment in Australia's regions to increase our national resilience and deliver good quality blue jobs. Minister, how does keeping this capability onshore make Australia stronger?
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Minister Ayres.
Well, this investment is vital for our national resilience. 6,000 jobs in that region delivered, secured through renewable energy, through wind and solar investments, backed by gas, backed by storage. Now, alternative views, I hear Senator Colbeck say. Alternative views, I hear Senator Colbeck say. And I saw what Mr Hastie said the other day. He blamed renewable energy for Tomago's problems. It's like blaming doctors for disease. It's like blaming ambulance drivers for car accidents. The thing that is securing the future of Tomago aluminium and the thousands and thousands of jobs and that industrial capability, our end-to-end aluminium capability, is this government's efforts to rebuild what was left to us in a moribund, clapped-out electricity system.
Thank you, Senator Ayres. Senator O'Neill, second supplementary.
The Tomago aluminium smelter supports more than 6,000 jobs across the Hunter region. Can the minister explain what this means for the workers of Tomago aluminium and their families?
Thank you, Senator O'Neill. Minister Ayres.
Thank you to Senator O'Neill. President, this is a workplace I've been going to for 30 years in my efforts in our industrial economy. And I can tell you that while we are focused on those issues of national resilience and industrial progress, of course it has a human dimension. Many of these people I've met before, many times over the course of my working life. Operator Luke Miller said, when you've got young kids, it's pretty good to be able to come home with a smile and tell them that we've got at least another 10 years. Marcus Faulkner, who's worked there for over 30 years, said, let's be honest, we were going to be out of a job. Right, the Prime Minister spoke to a young family. Mum and Dad worked at Tomago Aluminium, who knew that they could now buy a home with confidence. It has a human dimension. These people turn up for work early and work hard, and the government is working hard for them.
Has expired. I advise the chamber that Senator Thorpe has passed her question to Senator Roberts.
Thank you, President. My question.
Order. Order.
My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Northern Australia, Senator Farrell. Minister, the Great Australian Infrastructure Project...
Order. Senator Roberts, please resume your seat. Order across the chamber. I need to be able to hear the question. Senator Roberts, I'm going to invite you to start again. And I expect there to be silence.
Thank you, President. There will be no welcome to country. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Northern Australia, Senator Farrell. Minister, the Great Australian Infrastructure Project, GAIN, proposal has been with the Northern Australia Infrastructure Fund, NAIF, for more than 2 months now. The proponents have provided all the information NAIF requested. This proposal is coming from a consortium of leading Australian companies, some publicly listed, who have the expertise and resources, including funding to progress this project. The GAIN project will add more than $100 billion to Australia's GDP, provide 40,000 breadwinner jobs and provide transport, power, water and internet access across Northern Australia, including lifting remote Aboriginal communities out of poverty through improved market access, town services and tourism. Minister, will you undertake to work with NAIF to progress GAIN as a matter of urgency?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Roberts for his intriguing question, and thank him for the advance notice, which gives me an opportunity to give a very factual response.
Senator Scarr.
Well, that is very unkind, Senator. Look, I could be hurt by something like that, but I won't take offence. So, just as to make sure I understand this particular project, the idea behind this particular project is to run a transcontinental railway line from Pilbara through to the Bowen Basin. That's the proposal we're talking about here, I think. Is that the Senator Roberts? Just to make sure.
Senator Farrell, Senator Roberts has asked a fulsome question. It's not question and answer. So thank you for standing, Senator Roberts. But I'm going to ask the minister to continue.
Okay. Well, let's assume for the purpose of the debate, and perhaps in your subsequent question you can answer that question. If this item has only recently been put forward to the NAIF, then I don't think the proponents on a proposal like this, very dramatic, a big picture proposal, should necessarily expect a response in weeks. It obviously is a very ambitious project. I can recall, Senator Roberts, when South Australia handed back the Northern Territory to the federal government in 1911, the condition was that the railway line between Alice Springs and Darwin would be completed, and that took another 80 years to happen. So these big picture proposals don't occur overnight. But can I say this?
Thank you, Minister Farrell. The time for answering has expired. Senator Roberts, first supplementary.
Thank you. The mining industry employs 314,000 Australians directly and 800,000 indirectly. These are largely breadwinner jobs that create families. Many are union members. Minister, why is the supposed party of the workers showing no interest in a project that will create tens of thousands of breadwinner jobs in mining, steel, ceramics, fertiliser, industrial gas, including oxygen, and cement, which we badly need for housing construction, and revitalise the productivity in this country?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, and I would hope all of the jobs would be union jobs, Senator Roberts, not just some. Australian Workers' Union, I suppose. Very good union, very good union. Very fine union, actually, come to think of it. Senator Roberts, all of those things that you've just mentioned are really, really good things for this country to be doing, and I would imagine would be the sorts of things that the NAIF is interested in. But the NAIF is an independent board process that assesses all projects' financing applications against its investment mandate and rigorous due diligence requirements. I mean, you wouldn't want a project that can't be successful to be supported by public funds, I'm sure. So these processes can take some time, and as the NAIF very, very diligently manages public funds.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Roberts, second supplementary.
Thank you. Minister, Aboriginal communities across the top end are living in appalling conditions. The GAIN project will bring transport, town water, electricity, internet, fresh food and market access to more than 100 remote communities. It will facilitate movement of cattle to port in a way that does not stress the animal and improves returns to Aboriginal communities who rely on grazing for their income. Minister, why is the government not interested in a real project to change the lives of Aboriginals in remote communities?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Farrell.
Well, Senator Roberts, this government is interested in doing exactly what you say in Indigenous communities around the country, and obviously if this project could help those people, then that's a very good thing. Given your interest in this, Senator Roberts, I shall personally make some inquiries to see whether or not I can find out where this proposal is up to. It's a very ambitious proposal. I think you're being a little bit unrealistic in how quickly you can expect a response. But nevertheless, I shall take it upon myself to make an inquiry to see where it's up to, and I shall come back to you personally on this issue as soon as I can.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Hume.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Yesterday, the Prime Minister dismissed warnings of higher rents as an absurd justification. This morning, the Housing Minister, Minister O'Neill, claimed that the impacts of Labor's taxes on rent rises would be very small. And Assistant Minister Hill questioned the motives of real estate agents who are speaking out. Now, Treasury says the impact of Labor's taxes on housing will be just $2 a week. Minister Butler said that we are very confident in our forecast. Will the minister guarantee that no Australian renter will pay more than $2 a week more because of Labor's increased taxes on housing?
Thank you, Senator Hume. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Well, what I can say is this, that I can absolutely guarantee that our changes are motivated by a desire to bring on more housing supply. And I can guarantee that your opposition to the government's changes would have resulted in less housing supply in this country. I think we can all see what the opposition is doing. And what I would say is...
Order.
What I would say is that some of the reporting, I think we know, has not been accurate, and I would refer you to the clarification both from the NAB and also Ray White Real Estate today. Let's again look at the facts. The budget made no change for people who already negatively gear property. And I remind the senator who supports higher taxes and larger deficits, Senator Hume, I remind Senator Hume that the arrangements that were in place up to budget night remain grandfathered in. Secondly, I would make this point that negative gearing and capital gains tax discount of 50% can still be used for new builds. So when people choose to invest in housing, they will be investing not just in their future wealth and assets, but also in the assets of the nation. Now, the ABS, the Australian Bureau of Statistics, have pointed out these settings have already made a difference. There are more investors borrowing to build new homes than ever before, and there are fewer investors competing with first home buyers for existing homes. And in the June quarter, there was a 27% increase in investor loans for new builds and a 20% increase for construction loans. So what all of this means is we are already seeing the market responding to the incentive for additional supply.
Has expired. Senator Hume, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. The Housing Minister told Australian renters not to listen to politicians. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I'm pretty sure Australians stopped believing the Housing Minister and the Prime Minister some time ago. Under Labor, median capital city rents have risen from $470 to $690 a week. Was Minister O'Neill really warning renters not to believe her own government's claims that these tax changes will cost them just $2 a week?
Thank you, Senator Hume. Minister Wong.
So President, Senator Hume talks about people not listening to politicians, and I wonder if people were supposed to listen when she said that tax cuts were egregious or not. Were people supposed to listen when she went to the last election advocating for higher taxes? Were we supposed to listen or not when you advocated for higher taxes and lower wages and higher deficits? Were we supposed to listen? I'm all ears, Senator, as to whether or not we were supposed to listen to you when you said all these things over and over again. We are committed to bringing more housing supply into the market because that will help renters and that will help first home buyers. And those policies are all about dealing with the lack of housing supply that occurred under the coalition.
Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Hume. Senator Hume, second supplementary.
Yesterday, the Housing Minister boasted that Labor has the boldest housing policy in 70 years. How very yes, Minister. Rents are up already by $220 a week under Labor. They're up 29% in the Treasurer's own electorate, and experts are warning the Prime Minister's new taxes could push rents even higher. Minister, is bold policy just Labor's latest excuse for making renters poorer?
Thank you, Senator Hume. Minister Wong.
Senator, this government is about bringing more housing, new housing supply into the system. And this government has also increased rent assistance by more than 50%, the largest increase in 3 decades. 3 decades, Senator. Not something you have ever advocated for, nor something you have ever supported, as far as I can see. Far from being the champion of renters, Senator. I don't know that anybody would think of Senator Hume as the champion of renters. I think people would know Senator Hume is the champion of lower wages for working people. Lower wages for working people. So don't come in here and pretend you are somehow a champion of renters when we know that the very wages that so many families in this country rely on, you would advocate for lower wages. Well, that is not Labor's way, and what we will do is keep working to bring more housing supply into the market.
Thank you, Minister. Order. Senator Hume, I called you personally about 3 times. I called order and you completely disrespected me. Senator David Pocock.
Thanks, President. My question is to the Minister for Environment and Water, Senator Watt. Minister, the national risk scores for the H5 bird flu for native birds and mammals, a document released on the 4th of August, has been referred to as the bird flu doom list. It places nearly 300 native species at high to extreme risk, including 5 at extreme risk. Extreme risk seems to mean species will not survive where the virus occurs. The doom list was released to the public just over 2 weeks ago. How long has this list existed?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Pocock, for the question. Obviously, our government is taking the risk of H5 bird flu extremely seriously, and we started taking that seriously well before we started seeing the first cases of that strain of bird flu enter Australia's shores. It's why, for the last couple of years, our government has been investing in preparedness, and I dare say that that's one of the reasons that it has taken so long for that strain of bird flu to get to Australia, noting that we are the last continent on Earth to have this strain arrive on our shores. The list that you're referring to, which some environmental organisations have referred to in the way that you have, was published by my department a couple of weeks ago. I don't know the exact date that it was first prepared, but it wasn't months earlier. It's been an ongoing piece of work. It was an important piece of work undertaken by my department to inform our preparedness exercises, and it so happens that the 5 species that were identified as being of extreme risk of extinction in that list have all received some form of financial support towards their resilience or monitoring or surveillance under the preparedness activities that we've been undertaking over the last couple of years, as have many of the other species listed in that list of being at high risk of extinction. So that has been an ongoing piece of work that has informed the funding decisions that my department has undertaken. To give you a couple of examples, here in the ACT, we have invested $60,000 towards supporting the construction and deployment of floating island refuges across the ACT's lakes, dams and wetlands. In New South Wales, more than $1.2 million is supporting New South Wales to reduce invasive species. They're the kind of investments that have been made to protect those very endangered species.
Senator Pocock, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister. I appreciate it. If you are happy to give us that date at some point when your office can get it, that would be great. According to the Biodiversity Council, this year's budget cuts on-ground nature programs by 9% in real terms. How can the government say that you're serious about no new extinctions and being prepared where we see a cut to on-the-ground conservation in this country?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Watt.
Thanks, Senator Pocock. I have seen that claim made by the Biodiversity Council, and I don't think they would be the only advocacy organisation in the country who would be seeking more funding for the issues that they care about. That is the role of advocacy groups. In a similar way, we see housing groups seek more funding for housing. We see business groups seek more assistance for business, and understandably we see a group called the Biodiversity Council seek more funding for biodiversity. That is the nature of things. I do reject, though, their claim about the funding that has been provided in this year's budget. I was very pleased that we were able to extend the funding for our Saving Native Species program, which again is investing in the resilience of endangered species. Of course, the funding that we provide through the Natural Heritage Trust is continuing as well, so I reject the figures that they have cited. I'm very proud of the efforts that this government has made to invest in our native species, to back in our commitment to have no further extinctions.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, second supplementary.
Thanks, President. Minister, as you know, conservation groups have costed an urgent response of $200 million over the next 2 years for predator control, surveillance, wildlife response capacity and insurance populations. Will the government be coughing up $200 million to save these species, given the kind of money we see going to smelters and other places? This is our natural heritage, our environment that we're talking about.
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Watt.
Thanks, Senator Pocock. Well, again, this government has already invested significant funds towards the resilience of our precious native species. Of the $113 million that this government has invested in bird flu preparedness, around $47 million of that has gone towards wildlife resilience. Now, again, the groups that are calling for this additional investment, you would expect them to do that. That is their role. They have in fact been calling for that kind of investment to occur in native species for some time, not just since bird flu arrived. We've said that we have an open mind about the need for further funding in this space. My colleague, Minister Collins, is obviously also working with states and territories about the needs of the agriculture sector to deal with the bird flu virus having arrived here. I might say, though, that we make no apologies whatsoever for investing in the future manufacturing capacity of our country and the tens of thousands of jobs that rely on it.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Marielle Smith.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watt. The Albanese Labor government is delivering real change for Australian workers by helping Australians earn more and keep more of what they earn. Today, new data released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that the wages of Australian workers have risen again, growing above 3%. Can the Minister provide details on the data and outline the factors which have led to this increase?
Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Smith, who again is one of the very active members on this side of the chamber who've put a lot of work into wage rises for Australians over the years. And in good news for Australians, and particularly good news for Senator Hume, as the shadow spokesperson, new data released by the ABS today shows real wages grew in the June quarter and annual nominal wages have now grown above 3% for all 4 years under this Labor government. Senator Hume, I look forward to your press release welcoming the fact that Australians' wages are increasing. Real wages were up in the quarter, but we acknowledge that they were down through the year, not because wages have been too low, but because inflation is still too high, something the government is playing our role to drive down. The ongoing wage increases for Australian workers is a direct result of the Albanese Labor government's workplace laws that were consistently opposed by the Liberals, the Nationals and One Nation. Let's recognise how much pressure many Australian families are under right now due to the global inflation shock that they are dealing with. Can you imagine how much harder life would be for those Australian families if we still had a government in Australia that wanted to see wages remain low and dedicated its entire economic policy apparatus to keeping wages low? That's the situation that Australian workers and their families would have been in. We're helping to deliver higher wages for workers because we know this is one of the best ways to help with the cost of living. We're helping to boost wages for workers, giving every taxpayer a tax cut and strengthening super at the same time as we're helping to address inflation. If you want an indication about where the Liberals, Nationals and One Nation stand on these issues, just think about the fact that Senator Hume famously claimed that wage increases, quote, would be the worst thing for Australians. How out of touch with reality for Australians. And Senator Hanson is no different, saying you can't just say we're going to give you a rise. The reality is—
Thank you, Minister. The time for us answering has expired. Senator Smith, first supplementary. Hang on. Senator McAllister.
Senator Hume's interjection was disorderly and she ought to withdraw.
Order. Just a moment, Senator Hume. Just a moment, Senator Hume. I did not hear— Order. I did not hear an interjection. I'm sure if Senator Hume made an interjection, she will withdraw it, but I did not hear it. Senator Hume. Thank you, Senator McAllister. You've made your point. I've invited Senator Hume.
There was a reflection made upon me, and I don't think it's unreasonable to respond to that.
Senator Hume. Order. 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 I believe that I'm running the chamber. Who said that? That can be withdrawn, that comment. Thank you. Order. Senator Hume, I've invited you. I didn't hear the comment. I've invited you to withdraw. If you don't wish to, that is your decision.
Thank you, President. Look, I will withdraw, but I would ask you— I would ask you to consider exactly what was said by the minister in his response.
Thank you. Senator Hume, no. Please resume your seat, Minister Watt. As I said at the beginning, I did not hear the interjection, so I can't consider something I did not hear. I've invited you to withdraw. You've asked me to withdraw, but I cannot consider something I didn't hear.
And I reiterate that I do withdraw. However, it does seem to be an increasingly common occurrence that those opposite are reflecting on those on this side of the chamber, and that goes unchecked. And it goes unchecked by you, President.
Senator Hume, please withdraw. Please resume your seat. You're not in a debate with me. I've asked you to withdraw. Well, you've also added a caveat. I would simply ask you, if you're going to withdraw the comment without any other additions. Just a moment, Senator Wong. So, Senator Hume, I'm inviting you once again, as I do with every senator in this place. Thank you. Sometimes I hear interjections and sometimes I don't. You will find, if you reflect on my record, if I hear an interjection, I ask for it to be withdrawn. Where are we? Minister Wong.
Thank you. First, we accept—
Is this on a point of order?
On the point of order, if I may. Senator Hume's point of order. We accept that Senator Hume has withdrawn. We are happy for you to consider the matters that Senator Hume has averted to. I would make the point there are existing provisions in the standing orders if senators feel that something incorrect has been said, that they can avail themselves of. It's not a matter for the President to censor what every senator says, and I would suggest that those opposite would understand that, having said some of the things they have said over the years.
I will inform the chamber once again. The only comment I can have a look at later is what Senator Watt says. Now, that doesn't give it a context. I did not hear what Senator Hume says. She has withdrawn in the interest of the chamber. I thank her for that. I'm happy to listen to what Senator Watt has said, but I'm not sure it gives me much more to go on. Senator Ruston, you're not in a debate with me. Senator Smith, second supplementary.
Really good. Lifting the wages of working Australians is one of the ways the Albanese Labor government is helping people with cost of living pressures. Minister, what policies has this government implemented to support higher wages for Australian workers?
And apologies, Senator Smith, that's your first supplementary. Minister Watt.
Thanks, Senator Smith. Well, the Albanese Labor government understands that many Australians are under pressure at the moment, and that's why we're taking action by helping to address inflation and rolling out more cost-of-living relief, including higher wages and more tax cuts. Just last month, almost 2.8 million workers on the national minimum wage and the Modern Award got a pay boost, and 14 million Australian taxpayers got another tax cut under this government. Our government supported the increase to the minimum wage through our submission to the Fair Work Commission. Now, we know that higher productivity is key to higher wages and living standards over the long term, and that's why turning around Australia's long-standing productivity challenge that goes back at least 20 years is also a key focus of the government. We've made a lot of progress in our economy with strong wages growth under Labor, but the job's not yet done. We know that Australian people are under pressure, and that's why we continue to take action to boost their wages, help address inflation and deliver cost-of-living relief.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Smith, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, higher wages and the pay packets of millions of Australian workers helps lift the standard of living. That means more money for the things that matter, like putting a roof over your head or putting food on the table. Minister, why is the Albanese Labor government supportive of higher wages, and are there any obstacles that may stand in the way?
Thank you, Senator Smith. Minister Watt.
Sounded to me like Senator Scarr was putting up his hand when the word obstacles was used then. Well, higher wages do mean a better life for working Australians and their families. And every day, every member of the Albanese Labor government pushes for higher wages because we know that it will improve the lives of the millions of Australians that we represent. When we first came to office, real wages were going backwards under the coalition by 3.6%. Both annual and quarterly real wages fell for the last 5 quarters under those opposite. And that's because lower wages were a key design feature for the Abbott, Turnbull and Morrison government's economic policy. The reality is that those on the other side hate wage rises. They might have different party names, but for the Liberals, Nationals and One Nation, there's never a good time for a wage rise. They're already in coalition, the Liberals, Nationals and One Nation, because they need each other to govern and because they share an agenda which is all about cutting Australian wages and making life harder.
Thank you, Minister Watt. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. I ask that further questions be placed on.